All right, welcome everyone to 6th grade ELA poetry terms. I'm Mr. Tupa. We're going to be talking about poetry terms today. This slideshow might be familiar to you if you were here for the e-learning practice day or you did those lessons over break. If you did, still stay tuned because I'm going to be covering some different information in this slideshow. We've changed it a little bit, and I'm going to be giving you a secret word that you're going to need to know when you take the poetry terms quiz. So stick with us. Here we go. The first term that we are going to be talking about is speaker. A speaker is the voice that talks directly to the reader in a poem. It's not the author of the poem. The speaker and the author are different. The speaker is like a character. Think about when we read The Mixer. The narrator of The Mixer was a dog. He wasn't very smart. He couldn't tell that a crime was happening all around him. We didn't think that the author of that story was also a dog just because the dog was telling the story. Same thing in poetry. Don't assume that the speaker in the poem is the author. Also, the speaker in a poem is not the person reading the poem aloud. I might record myself reading the poem for you, or another teacher might. But just like if I was reading aloud a short story, you wouldn't call the speaker or the narrator the person that's reading it aloud to you. You are able to make that distinction. You know that just because I'm reading The Mixer out loud, I didn't suddenly turn into a dog. That didn't happen. So you got to think about in poetry, who is the speaker of the poem? They're almost like a character. They're the person that's talking directly to you, and treat them like that. Our next term is tone. A tone is the attitude a writer takes toward the audience or a subject or a character, how the author feels about what they're writing about. You can see, if you want to pause the video, some words to my left that explain tone, but otherwise I'm going to move on. Our next term is mood. Tone and mood can kind of go together. Mood is how the reader feels about the text while reading. It's not just your emotions in general, but it's how that text makes you feel. So look at the emojis over there, which reminds me, our secret word for today is emoji, so remember that. Emoji is the secret word. But if you see the emojis over there, you'll see that you could feel a lot of different ways when you're reading a poem. How does that poem make you feel? You might be mad going in. That doesn't mean the poem makes you feel mad. It might be meant to make you feel sad. So think about, how is the poem making you feel? That is the mood. A stanza is a group of lines in a poem. Think of it like a paragraph or like a verse. Lines can have, or stanzas can have different numbers of lines. So remember that as you go through it. Stanzas are groups of lines. So if you're asked which stanza, count them out and see which one is the correct stanza, or what numbers go with each stanza. Sometimes they'll have different numbers next to them. Sometimes you just number them yourselves. It's kind of up to you. A symbol is an object that stands for itself or a greater idea. So you have the dove that stands for peace. If there's a dove in a poem or in a story, it stands for peace. There's a fox. Foxes are cunning. Foxes are sly. If the character sees a fox, or the poem is about a fox, maybe it's also about being cunning and sharp and sly. Also above my head right now are circling some vultures. Vultures usually stand for something that's kind of scary. So maybe if I was reading this in a story, I'd be kind of scared right now because there's vultures circling above my head. Does that mean bad things are going to happen? I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out. Oh, everything's fine. It's just a bunch of figurative language terms. And you know what? We've already learned about these. So I'm putting them on a slide right here for you to remember that when you're analyzing poetry, you can use these terms. In fact, if you're a 6th grader at Willmar Middle School, you have already done this in the song project. You had to listen to songs and find lyrics that matched these figurative language terms. So you're already experts at it. We might ask you to do that again with the poems this week. So if you don't know what these terms mean, don't panic. Go to Schoology and find the Poetry Terms Quizlet. It has all the terms from here, plus all the terms that from this slideshow, plus all the terms on this slide, so you have everything covered. All right, that's the end of the video. You're going to take the Poetry Terms Quiz next. You're going to need to know the secret word, so I hope you were paying attention. Have a wonderful day and have fun eating.